Okay, can we all agree for a moment that the Gears 5 trailer that came out is actually really, really good compared to what we normally got? Like, we have the Rendezvous with Death, which is my favorite in Gears 2. Like I said, personal favorite of all time. Then we have Ashes to Ashes in 3, which is very, very good also. 4, we also got, Sound of Silence by Disturbed going on. That was great. But this one really set up more of I would say more of a feel to it. It was very, very appealing to the eyes. I loved it. But the one question that came up was that everyone had, there were a few, like the very ending, why she was holding the gun up to Dell, the moment when she was on the lake on that, like, the float bike. I don't remember what it's called, and she says where it all began. So how much did Marcus actually tell her about that area? All of that. The one question that really comes up is who died in the beginning of the trailer? Who ended up dying off that Kate would have such a huge reaction to? So let's take a look at this and see what we can figure out and who it might possibly be. Now, we need to start this off by saying that what we see in this trailer is definitely not the very beginning of Gears 5. The game will not have a cold open to right here, this is the beginning of it all. Now, obviously, by what I could tell, there was a fire going on everywhere, everyone seemed to be soldiers, someone was dead, and I would probably say that this area was possibly a swarm area that was taken over or something, and I'm hoping we get more info about stuff like this when we get Hive Busters that comes out, because it seems like the swarm is now, instead of just hiding out and stealing at night, they actually have like areas they're set up, and like this is a swarm heavy location, like you'll come across them normally. So I want to guess it's something like that. And obviously Kate, Dell, JD re-enlisted. Marcus seems to be enlisted now too. So I would guess, since at the end of 4 we saw that Oscar was alive, Oscar might also be enlisted now. The only way I could see that he isn't is if it was, he's too old and we can't really bring him in. Like they do with the normal army. When you hit a certain age, you can't really serve anymore. So I want to guess it would be like that, but with the Gears of War situation, in the past it was probably like that, but when it came to like the Pendulum Wars, when it came to especially the Locust situation, and now the Swarm, they're starting to get low on soldiers. They're probably taking everyone they can. So I want to say that Oscar did come back, and he did join up again with the crew. Now, that leads us into what we see in the trailer. There is a dead body that Kate is going freak show over, like, they're dead, oh my god. Dell even says, like, he just died. So we know it's a male, and we know that it's someone that's important to Kate if she's willing to fall to her knees crying. A lot of people have already stated it's probably Oscar, and it could be. It could be Oscar that ended up dying, because the Locust fight could have went on. I did my best to freeze frame everywhere I could in the actual trailer to see what I could end up seeing, but Dell obscures a lot of it, and they did it on purpose because they don't want to release who it is. But you do end up seeing a hand. It's darkened. It's either because of the shadow effect, or it might be because he's burnt to a crisp. So Oscar, or whoever it is, could have died being burnt alive and killed. That's a possibility, because there's fire everywhere, and like I said, it's really shadowed out, so I can't really tell if it's a shadow effect from the blanket going over, or if it's the actual fire itself that could have killed him. So, from there, we have to decide whether or not, okay, is it Oscar, or who could it be if it's not Oscar? So let's see if we can figure out some other choices before we sit down and nail who it is. Something you could say that a lot of people could throw out there is, oh, maybe it's Kate's father. I do believe it was stated that he died when Kate was young, but it could have been maybe Raina was keeping a lot more secrets from Kate than we thought. Maybe the father was still alive and left. We don't really know that. I'd like to side that he is dead, but maybe he's alive. Maybe he's been doing something with the Gears and he's wanting to keep himself hush-hush. If that was the case, though, I feel like JD and Dell could possibly know that because there's not that many soldiers anymore. So maybe her father turns out, hey, honey, I'm still alive, but there was a reason it had to be hidden from you. We didn't want you to learn something or something like that. And maybe Oscar was in on it to keep secret. And maybe they reunited, and at this point in the game, which I'd guess is probably the end of Act 1, he dies. Maybe, and she's sad because she couldn't reconnect with her father, or she's angry at him for some reason. It could be something like that. Another idea I had, and I keep bringing up this family a lot, but let's face it, where can they not fit a role? Maybe it's a Carmine. Maybe Clay or Dee were still alive. And they had Gary, and they ended up knowing the family. Maybe they were part of a different outsider collective somewhere, and Gary ended up going to that one, and he died. And I don't know, maybe the Diaz and the Carmine family were really close, and it just so happened that she knew Clay, and they, she saw him as a substitute father figure, kind of like how she saw Oscar as an uncle, and he ends up dying, or it's D and he dies, and she's broken up because this is like, maybe they don't know Oscar's still alive after the ending of 4, and he just hasn't found his way home, and she's like, this is one of the last people I have as family, and they're gone now. Okay, getting those two out of the way, let's throw this one out, because this is obviously going to be the obvious choice, and I think you obviously know who it is. Oscar. It's probably Oscar. The way that she, talks to him in the first one, it really does seem like she sees him as a substitute father figure. She doesn't just see him as an uncle, because it's not like he's the brother of Raina. No, he was the brother of her father. He was the brother of Kate's dad. So I have a feeling she really does see him as a father figure, because it's like, you were my dad's brother and you're the only one left and you're my uncle. There's no one else I can see as this position, because she didn't even know who Marcus was until 4. It's not like JD and Del, where Del kind of saw Marcus as somewhat, I'd say, as a father figure, as a very, very trusted family friend. Because when you see Del and Marcus, they talk to each other like, I told you to watch over him. And, Del was the one who received, I think he had it tied on his arm. He was the one who received Marcus's do-rag. Or I think at that point it was shown to be kind of like a bandana. I can't really ever tell the difference. I think the do-rag is like one solid thing you put on, while a bandana you actually have to tie on itself. I could be wrong. I don't really wear bandanas or do-rags. I wear backwards hats. That's my thing. So, getting back to the point. If it is Oscar who died, we'd have to think of what he's doing there, the repercussions, ramifications, and I would say why Kate felt so bad about it. But again, that's the only member of her family still alive, and he's gone now. So it makes sense on that aspect. But when it comes to the ramifications, and when it comes to, I would say, the reason things went down like that, I would guess he got caught up in things. He could have died a noble death and, like, get out of here, everybody, get her to safety. Because maybe they didn't go there to clean out a swarm infestation. Maybe the swarm just came with a big old attack into that Gear Fortress area we saw, and they were trying to take Kate. And so they were fighting him off, and Kate might have been fighting too, and Oscar was like, it's getting too crazy, things might go south, get her out of here. Just get her, leave, do something with her so that they can't get her. So they probably moved her away against her wishes, probably. And Oscar could have died nobly, like, I'm going to do something that's going to stop them, but I'm going to die in the process. Kind of like what Dominic did. Dom. Don't know why I just went straight to Dominic, but that's his name too. So, but, he went out in a blaze of glory. Well, like I said, there's fire everywhere, and the hand that we see looks a bit darkened, so maybe Oscar said, screw it, found like a huge kind of explosive thing, whatever it could be, and he just blew it to Kingdom Come, and maybe he got caught up in it and he died too, and that's why we see the hand as it is, and there's fire everywhere. So that could have been how he ends up going. And I am going to just keep saying it's Oscar instead of who it could be, because I personally do believe it's Oscar. So it could have been that. It could have been maybe he got overwhelmed and killed, and when they finally finished fighting, they found his body. It could be that. Because it seems like Kate was away, and Del and Marcus were there looking over the body with some other soldiers. So I want to guess that, especially with JD being there, because it seems like he was there, he wasn't stationed there with the others. It could have been like that was backup that came to help with the situation. And maybe, yeah, they did get overrun, and it turns out that Kate got saved because Oscar decided to say, screw it, she's got to live, I'm going out. And then that puts her into the position where it's like, I'm tired of running, we can't keep doing this, I need to go out and find the reason this is happening, or why it's me, what's my connection, what's with these dreams I've been having. Because then it syncs up pretty well, because it could seem like they're running, like they're trying to keep Kate away from the swarm, because they know if they have Kate, they're like this, they pretty much have a hive mind supercomputer going. They're already somewhat connected, but once you get like a member of the Diaz family in there, it just seems like it's running into overdrive. They can start members of the Swarm can start talking. They can start performing functions on a higher brain level. We had that giant monster at the end of 4. You can't tell me if it wasn't running a little smarter than normal because of Reyna being hooked up to it. It could be anything like that, really. So that's what I think it is. They're trying to hide her off. They end up coming to this situation where they're fighting everything off. Oscar tells her to get back, or someone moves her into the back so she can't be taken. They get overrun. They beat them all, but at the cost of Oscar's life. And then that pushes her into, he died to save me. People are going to keep dying. I need to go solve this now. And it's these dreams, visions, my family. I need to figure out what's going on. I think it syncs up pretty well, and that leads into the situation with 5. So, yeah, I think it is Oscar who's the one that's under the blanket. I think he's the one that ended up dying. I don't think it's her father. I think he is dead. I don't think we're going to be seeing any of the main Carmine family anymore. So I don't think it's any of them. I don't even know who else she really has that strong of a feeling for. Whoever was covered was obviously an adult, and it was a he. So we can't assume it's a she that she was really fond of or close to. We saw Marcus, we saw JD, we saw everyone. I don't know who else it possibly could be. Because I would really hate it. Because like I said, this isn't going to be the start of the game, this situation. It's probably the end of Act 1 is what I'm going to guess it is. But if we're really going to get like some character she's really fond of in the first act and nothing else is ever mentioned or nothing ever mentioned about them knowing each other or us seeing them before, I'm going to really hate that because they're just going to pull a character out of nowhere just so that they can push this like, oh, she was close to them and she has to find a way to keep everyone safe by going and figuring this out. Oh, yeah, and Oscar's alive doing God knows what. I don't find that really smart, really a good story writing aspect to pull that. But what I do like is the idea of if it is Oscar, and I really want to see Oscar decked out in like old gear armor, and I want to get his backstory before he dies about how he was a gear and what made him leave. I want to get that. But I think it's pretty badass how Oscar's going to be the one to go, and I really hope it's heroic because he seems like the guy who would, especially after that fight for him trying to get Reyna back before he was abducted. That was a kick-ass fight. Those two versus, I think his name was the Sire was the name of the one that they ended up fighting. I can't remember. Again, like, he's pushed to be like, he's the one that stole Reyna. He's the final villain we got to deal with. But then you learn you just got to take out a Brumac and he's finished, and you only see him like twice. They could have done a lot better with him. Made him more like a main, like, general aspect kind of character, but they didn't push it that well. So I hope they do better with 5 in that aspect with their villain, but I think Oscar's dead. I think he's staying dead. I don't see who else it possibly could be. So that'll do it for this Gear Talk video. You guys have a great one. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, well, we don't have Facebook. I don't think we ever will either, but you know the spiel. You hear it every other channel. I'll keep trying to push the more of these videos that I can. The issue is, though, like I said in the last one, with like the big reveals coming out soon, I want to be covering those and the new videos coming out, you know, with reactions and all that. There's going to be new theories popping up here and there. So, again, feel free to vote onto the polls. That's going to give you an idea of what the next video will be, because this was the winner of the last one, obviously, if I'm here talking to you. So, yeah, you guys have a great one. See you later.